Welcome to our grammar lesson on relative clauses. To begin, I will explain to you why relative clauses are being used. Relative clauses help you to describe something in more detail. They are also used for definitions. They mostly do that by combining two simple sentences into one, which leads to better readability. Moving on, now I will explain to you how relative clauses are constructed. Relative pronouns like who, which, or where can replace different parts of speech. For example, for people you use the relative pronoun who. For things and animals you use the relative pronoun which. And if you describe a place, you use the relative pronoun where. So let us start with the first example. Here we see two simple sentences. Jane is a doctor. Jane lives next door. Now we will turn these two sentences into one sentence with a relative clause. Jane is a person, so that means we will use the relative pronoun who. This leaves us with Jane is a doctor who lives next door. Moving on to example number 2. Again, you can see two simple sentences. Jane has a car. The car is red. We will combine these two sentences into one. And because the car is a thing, you will substitute it with the relative pronoun which. This leaves us with Jane has a car which is red. But what about that? If you talk about people or things, you can also use that instead of who or which. Let me explain by using the previous two sentences. Jane is a doctor that lives next door. In this case, who got substituted by that. And the second sentence, Jane has a car that is red. In this case, that is substituted for which. Okay, now let's move on to the relative pronoun where, which is used for places. In our example, you see two sentences, and again we will combine them into one sentence containing a relative clause. Jane works at the hospital. At the hospital, she takes care of sick people. To avoid repetition, the second prepositional phrase, at the hospital, is replaced by the relative pronoun where. This leaves us with Jane works at the hospital where she takes care of sick people. Contact clauses. In some cases, you do not need a relative pronoun to describe something in more detail. Then the sentences are called contact clauses. If the relative pronoun substitutes the object of a sentence, it can be left out. Let me explain to you by looking at an example. The doctor who I wanted to see was away on holiday. The relative pronoun who relates to the doctor, who in this case is the object of the sentence, so the relative pronoun can be left out. This leaves us with the doctor I wanted to see was away on holiday. And here's a little hint. If in some cases you're not sure whether or not the relative pronoun stands for the object of the sentence, just check if it's followed by a subject, or rather a noun. If so, it can be left out. And now, Well, it's your turn. Let's practice what you learned today and start with the first exercise. Fill in the gaps with the correct relative pronoun. In which cases can the relative pronoun be left out? You can now pause the video and copy the sentences. And after you're done, you can check out the description box below to compare your results. Hey, there you are again. Have you completed exercise number 1? Yes? Then let's move on to exercise number 2. Combine the following sentences using the correct relative pronoun. Again, you can pause the video here, and after the exercise is complete, you can check out the description box below. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any further questions, just check out the other videos on this channel. Oh, and thanks for watching.